Imagine yourself on the most romantic beach that you can think of. For me, that's Tunnels Beach on Kauai. Soft sand, Napali coast, beautiful azure water coming in. We were sitting there taking in the day, and this group of young people came running by, surfboards, boogie boards, all that stuff, went running by, and as they went past us, they were flipping off their shirts, hitting the ocean, throwing down the boards, and taking out to sea. A few strides behind the young men and women was this beautiful young mother and her newborn, maybe 4 or 5 days old child. We watched, and she slowly put down her stuff, and then she slowly started to unwrap her child until he was totally naked. And she and her son walked out into the waves, and she simply bounced him very gently with each rolling wave. It was really beautiful, and I'll admit I felt a bit like a voyeur. As we sat there, the love of my life turns to me and says, "I want to have a baby." You what? I want to have a baby. We're not getting any younger, and I want to have a baby. Honey, we're not even married. Yeah, and I'm 34. Right, and I understand that the beautiful woman and the beautiful child and all this looks really good and all, but I mean, seriously, and you're only 43. It's not that easy. We both kind of sunk back in the sand and looked around a little bit, watched everybody. As the surfers surfed, the waves crashed, and the same wave that I assumed the father of that child was riding crashed and came to this woman as she bounced this beautiful child. My partner turned to me and said, "You're going to be a great mother." I'm 51, and I have a 4-year-old. We returned to Michigan, to small town Michigan, where not we, really the truth is, where my partner decided to get busy, but not busy with me. You see, full disclosure, I'm a lesbian. So getting busy with me was not going to get the job done. So she turned to the computer. So here we are, getting older, definitely me at this point, and we're about to go on the venture of having a baby. But you need a donor, at least we did. So I, of course, said, "Honey, go to the bar like everybody else does in America. Get a few drinks in you, make sure he buys the drinks, and come home, and 1, 2, 3, we're parents." Again, a small town, not gonna happen, not the way she's gonna roll. So she starts to do some research. We discuss friends, and really, if you ever think about this, and you look at your friends closely, and you love them dearly, and they're perfect for you, but if you ever look at them, do you really want to share their genetics? You marry the people you want to share their genetics. So we thought about our 2 best friends, and they both were married, and oddly enough, they both had had their children, and they are in their 50s, and they really had been snipped, so they weren't available. Which again led us to the California cryobank. That's right, we're going to buy sperm. Well, who knew? Who knew you go to buy sperm? Well, this is our venture. So my partner, Malaya, she doesn't let anything go. She's a smart woman. She absolutely is focused, and she moves through. She starts to do the research. We find all this stuff. We start to understand the medical implications, the state laws. We lawyer up like crazy to get at least having similar rights to straight couples before we jump into this. This is not a lighthearted thing we're doing. We're hoping to help create a life and make me a 51-year-old mother of a 4-year-old. And so she starts looking, and when you look at sperm donors, by the way, in this very respected 30-year cryobank, a sperm bank, there are 10,000 sperm donors to choose from. Think about this. If you go to, I don't know, a coffee house, and you look, and there are 3 or 4 guys, you think, well, he's kind of cute. Went to a wedding last weekend. The bride and groom met in the airport flying back to Colorado Springs. He had enough guts to say, "She's pretty." She had enough guts to say, "You're cute." Now they're married. Lovely. Not us. We got 10,000 people to choose from. It's kind of weird because you're thinking, oh, okay, well, what color eyes? What color hair? Let's build a bear. No, no, no. So I'm just still not all in. I mean, I kind of really just want this to happen, but I'm just this whole, yeah. She's irritated with me. Again, straight going forward. Pours a glass of red wine, goes to the computer for 3 or 4 days, nothing but looking at donors, doing the magic, researching things. Here's how these cryobanks work. They're brilliant, by the way. One, they are the masters. Remember, I'm a communications director. They are a master of psychology. They have the message so good. You open the screen, there's the smiling baby, and basically it says, all of our donors are screened and tested. All of them are four-year college graduates. Most of them are recruited from MIT, Stanford, and Harvard. Because I really need super smart sperm. I need swimmers. I need motility. I go to Harvard sperm. What's that about? So for days and days and days, she sits down and she goes through 10,000 donors and she comes up with who she feels is the right person for us. Oddly enough, my sister visits from Marmalade. They look and my sister goes, wow, you're top 3, huh? And I'm like, swimmers. No, this one's from Stanford. So after a while, I'm finally breaking down. And Malaya says to me, honey, please, could you at least look? Just dedicate 15 minutes to this project. Just look a little bit, would you please? Out of, I don't know, kindness, desperation, leave me alone, I do the 15 minutes. And I said, bump, 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 here, bump, 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 there. That's the donor. Done. She leans over. That's who I chose. Out of 10,000 people, she and I both chose the same person. The kismet is coming. It's starting to work. And it's like, well, all right, here we go. We're living in a small town in the Midwest called Muskegon, Michigan. Not sure if any of you have ever heard of it. Population 50,000. So, she's from there. Her family built the town. Her last name is on many buildings. And she's lesbian. Are you kidding me? Small town? Not easy for her. But this is where she is. So, we decide to start buying sperm. Now, does anyone here know how sperm is delivered in the untraditional way, okay? Outside the body. Does anyone know how sperm is delivered?
FedEx, styrofoam boxes, coolers.
Keep going. FedEx? Yeah. In our case, it was UPS. So it comes in a very large box. I'm delighted some of these ladies know this. It comes in a 3-foot box. It's really an impressive box. And when the UPS man comes and you sign for your sperm and he hands you the box and he's already read the label and he knows where it's from and he knows what's going on there and he's giving you the look and you're like, woo! So thanks. And by the way, really hunky UPS guy, he would have been a great donor. So we've got the box. We're really not sure what's in it, but we know we paid about $1,000 for this box. And you open it up, and there's this big metal can in there. And when you open it up, all this hot ice smoke starts to fall on your feet. And it's like this really cool science project. And it's like, woo! And then you start to pull open this thing, and for about $1,000, you know what? You get a vial of sperm this big. This big. Are you kidding me? What's the production? What's the boxes? What's all this? What it is, again, is about $1,000 for 2 attempts every single month. Make sure you have your ovulation charts ready because you don't want to screw this up. So after the first 2 attempts with our midwife, who I'm going to call our inseminationist, I don't know if that's a word, but I'll just make it up, we realized that, we probably really need a true fertility specialist. So I called the best fertility specialist in a small town in Michigan. Said, hi, this is what we're doing, and and we have this fertility issue, but we already have the donor. What is your husband's name? Well, actually, it's my partner, and her name is, excuse me? Her name? Yeah. Honey, we don't do that here. Click. I was so angry, I didn't call back. I don't know if that's ever happened to me. So I thought, well, okay, we're just not going to deal with this. The second biggest city in Michigan is Grand Rapids, which, by the way, is very similar to Colorado Springs in the Christian way, but that's where we're headed. So we drive an hour, recommended a doctor, the only doctor in the city of Grand Rapids who will take us, and he says, come in, oh, so nice to meet you here, come to my office, shuts the door, and I'm thinking, well, this is interesting. Usually you just go and sit and maybe, get the paper gown on. And he starts to interrogate us. And I remember when he said to me, so Barbara, how long do you intend to stay with Malaya? And Malaya reaches under the desk, and she starts squeezing my leg like, shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up. And I said, are you telling me that you ask this of all of your patients? Well, no, I don't. Only the ones like you. Squeeze, 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 squeeze. Ones like me? Well, yes, you do have to admit. And I said, well, thank you so much for your time, and we walked out. We're running out of choices here. So let's go farther east to Lansing, Michigan, a little more liberal. And now we're driving 2 hours, and if anybody here is from Michigan, it's always through a snowstorm. I don't care what month it is. And we're driving through our latest snowstorm, and we meet Dr. Mohammed Mosinian. Dr. Mohammed Mosinian knew quite a bit about being discriminated against. He and his wife are from Iraq, living in America. He was glad to take us. So we started seeing Dr. Mohammed Mosinian, and he was fabulous, treated us with respect, treated us just like everybody else there. And after about 2 years of back and forth driving, we were running out of money. When you start a big project like this, you better have an end game, and that's the real truth of it, because if you're not, you're just going to drain your bank account. And we actually, my partner's a very good businesswoman, and she came up with a spreadsheet. My son, by the way, has a spreadsheet. And he really does. We plan to give it to him when he's 18. And we were getting down to our last try, and it was our last try. I remember lying in bed that night, and I said, honey, I know this has been really frustrating, and I just want to ask you one thing. And she said, yeah. I said, we're both very faithful. We're Christians. Have you prayed about this? And she said, no, I can't ask God. I can't ask God for this. And I said, why not? Why not? If we truly live our faith, if we truly believe this, then why can't you ask God? I mean, he's the only one who has the power, the authority to put another human being on the earth. Why wouldn't you ask him? If it's his intent, if it's his will, it'll happen. If it's not, it won't. So that night, without me knowing, she did pray. And the next morning, she drove by herself, because I'm a bad dad, through another snowstorm to Dr. Mohammed Mosinian. And our child was conceived at 9:45 on December 26th of 2008, because we still have the appointment card. So it was almost a 3-year journey of when we were sitting on that beach to when we had our child. But now, again, we're in a small town, and we're in her small town. We have to start telling people our dirty little secret. So we started by going to my mom's house, who is in Las Cruces, New Mexico. And I want you to think about this. Here are your parents. You know, they kind of get comfy and used to who you are and what you are. And at this point, we'd been together, I guess, 7 years, and they're used to it. And we flew out and said, hey, Mom, I got something to tell you. We're pregnant. She looked at me. She said, we are pregnant? And I said, well, actually, it's Malaya. And she looked at me, and she was so confused. And she goes, how? And I said, you know, that's a long story. But anyway, just suffice to say, you're going to be a grandma. And she started to cry, and she said, Malaya, get out of that sink quick. She had a plumber's pipe. She was fixing toilets and stuff. Get out of there. You're pregnant. Come sit over. Oh, my God. And she cried. It was very ecstatic for us. So we went home to Michigan, and her dad lives just over the dune from us. So we walked over the dune. It was June, no, it wasn't June. It was summer, though, because we were in shorts, but it was snowing. And when we got there, she was fidgety and nervous, and I just remember, and I remember her, and she finally said, well, Dad, we're here to talk to you, and I want to tell you something, but anyway, Dad, I'm pregnant. And her dad looks. Now imagine, again, your kid's lesbian with another woman and is like pushing 40 at this point. Yeah, you're what? I'm pregnant. You're going to be a grandpa. And I remember my father-in-law, he looked around the room, and he turned, and he saw a laptop, and he grabbed it, and he said, did I show you my ski trip from Tahoe? And he just started showing photos. And I kind of did this like, need some time, let's go home, we're all okay. So here we are, the bump is growing. We've got to tell people. People at church are looking at her, and she's an athlete. She's a very fit triathlete, flat stomach, and the bump is growing. So we have to start talking about this a little bit. Hey, so we're going to have a baby shower because we're pregnant. And come on over to our house. It's going to be a pig roast kegger, a lot of wine. We're lesbians. We don't know how to do this. And we're going to take down the fence. We're going to block off the street here. We got a live band here. We got the blow-up things for kids. And anyway, please bring a gift, because we brought them all to you people over the years. We want gifts. 250 people brought really, really nice gifts. Rooms were full. And by the way, our dirty little secret was a celebration for the city. It was very lovely. So all of you women, if you bore a child, you know how miserable those last few months, especially those weeks, are. My partner doesn't suffer lightly. As a matter of fact, she suffers very loudly. And her pain was more my pain. And anybody who has been with a woman through this time is a saint, because trust me, I think it's worse on me than it is on her. So it's September, it's hot, she's miserable, she wants this thing out, out, out. And there are old wives' tales that I'm sure a lot of you know. In our small town, there's this little pizza place called Fricano's, really greasy pizza. And the deal is, you go there. So she goes to get the pizza, and you order a beer. And the waitress says, oh, you're going to have a baby tomorrow. Make sure you call back and you get free pizza for a year. What? Yes, beer and pizza, baby. We go home, no baby. Next day, swing on the beach. But you got to face the lake. Swing on the beach. Her best friend George is pushing her. Swing on the beach. She's yelling, push harder, push harder. Swing on the beach. Go home, no baby. Third and final round is take a walk through Myers. Myers is like a gigantic Target superstore or Walmart. It's one of those ginormous superstores. Walk the perimeter of Myers, and the next morning you'll have the baby. Sure enough, we go walking that perimeter of Myers. We get, and it's just miserable, and I'm like, oh, hey, nice to see everybody, small town. And when we got home, only one of our two wonderful dogs greeted us at the door. And my soulmate dog didn't greet us. I'm like, oh, this is a little bit weird. So I went to her bed, and she's laying there, and she's not okay. And I'm like, what is going on? Big Shepherd Husky mix. And she's not okay. And I immediately know, if you know your dog well, you know. And something's wrong. She's got to go to the emergency doctor. We go 2 counties away, back to Grand Rapids, throw her in the back of the car, race to Grand Rapids through the night. It's midnight. I'm shaken. We're shaken. They meet us with a gurney. They put the dog in. She's there. Her eyes are slashing back and forth sideways. I look at the vet, and I said, that's brain damage, isn't it? And she said, yes, it is. And I said, put her down. Malaya says, I can't do this. I can't do this. And she runs to the car. And I said, put the dog down. And the woman said, it's okay. She's going to do it herself. So I walked out in the car, and Malaya's sitting there, and I said, sweetheart, Capel died. She goes, I know. I said, no, sweetheart, Capel died. I know. My water broke. The baby's coming. Well, let's just go to the hospital. No, I've called the midwife. She said, go home, bury the dog. George is digging the hole. Bury the dog, take a shower, get a little bit of a nap. We'll drive to Grand Rapids in the morning. I'm such a wreck. The woman with the broken water is the one driving an hour to the hospital because I'm like, oh, my dog is dead. And she's like, yeah, but I'm having a baby, but my dog is dead. The labor was 22 hours of pushing. She would tell you, that wasn't that bad. Yeah, it was. I was there. Worst thing I've seen. Worse than the junior high films. And we ended up having to do a C-section. The C-section was, if anybody's had one, you know, they're supposed to take the baby and put it on the mother's chest. But when you're in a sterile room like that, what they did is they gave the baby to me. And in my surgical mask, you can see the picture of my smile. It is the biggest smile I've ever had, and it's behind a surgical mask. And I have this baby. And he's the most beautiful thing in the world. We named him Kai, which means open water, big sea. This spring, we no longer go on exotic locales like Kauai. We now go to places like Disney World. And while we're at Disney World, we took a side trip to Cocoa Beach. While we're running around on the beach, Malaya, Kai, and I, we stopped at a wonderful restaurant called the Fat Kahunas. Now, the Fat Kahunas, when you walk in, is a big Hawaiian theme. And right there is a flat screen looking at you, and all it is surfer, 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 looping, waving, coming at you. We came in, tinky, tinky music, sit down, enjoying the whole scene and whatnot. And as I'm peeling peeling an orange for my son Kai, there's a painting above him. And don't you know, it's a painting of that exact spot where we were sitting at Tunnels Beach in Kauai when she said to me, I want to have a baby. Thank you.